The Atacama's night air bit at Maya's exposed skin as she knelt beside the excavation pit, alone with the fragments that had cost her everything. 3 years since Harvard had revoked her tenure, 5 since the academic community had branded her a charlatan. Now Meridian Mining had reluctantly summoned her to this desolate stretch of Chilean desert, though they'd never admit why. Their engineers were terrified of what they'd found. "Dr. Chen, you have 15 minutes before security rotation." The corporate handler checked his watch, keeping a safe distance both from the pit and from association with her professional reputation. Maya ignored him. The fragments lay on a carbon fiber tray, illuminated by portable floodlights, 7 pieces of metal unlike anything in humanity's metallurgical catalog. No visible seams, no manufacturing marks. Under the scanning electron microscope in the mobile lab, their molecular structure had defied analysis, showing impossible lattice configurations that shifted when observed. "Nobody's asking the obvious question," she muttered, circling the tray. Why were these buried precisely at the convergence point of 3 ancient indigenous territories? The handler sighed. "Dr. Chen, we didn't fly you 6,000 miles for more of your non-human intervention theories." Maya smiled thinly. "Then why am I here instead of MIT's material science team?" When no answer came, she returned to her examination. The fragments' edges weren't broken but perfectly formed, as though they were meant to separate and reconnect. Their surface bore faint geometric patterns that seemed to shift under sustained observation. An optical illusion, her rational mind insisted. Maya reached for the largest fragment, ignoring the handler's sharp intake of breath. The moment her fingers made contact, the pattern brightened momentarily. She froze. "Did you see that?" The handler frowned. "See what?" "Interesting." Maya lifted the piece, turning it under the light. For a split second, she glimpsed symbols projected in the air, gone before she could process them. Heart racing, she reached for a second fragment. "Dr. Chen, I must insist you use the provided equipment. Protocol clearly states that we don't know what we're dealing with." Maya finished, bringing the 2 pieces near each other. They trembled slightly, like magnets with uncertain polarity. "Which is exactly why I'm here, isn't it? Because your team recorded electromagnetic anomalies, temperature fluctuations that defied thermodynamic laws, and possible holographic emissions that only appeared when Dr. Maya Chen, the disgraced xenorchaeologist who threw away her career claiming ancient civilizations had extraterrestrial contact, was in proximity." The handler's silence was confirmation enough. As she manipulated the fragments, her thumb caught on an imperceptibly sharp edge. Pain flared as blood welled from the small cut. Damn it! The moment her blood contacted the surface, both fragments blazed with blue-white light. The handler scrambled backward as Maya dropped them in shock. Instead of falling, they remained suspended, rotating slowly. "Security breach. We need containment at the primary site." The handler's panicked voice echoed across the radio as the 5 remaining fragments shuddered, then flew from their tray to join the others. Maya stood transfixed as the pieces assembled themselves with liquid precision, interlocking to form a device roughly the size of a softball. Geometric patterns cascaded across its surface at increasing speed, pulsing in rhythm with her accelerated heartbeat. "Dr. Chen, step away from it now." Military personnel emerged from the darkness, weapons drawn. The device emitted a high-pitched whine. Maya reached for it instinctively. "Don't touch." Her fingers brushed the assembled surface. A concentric shockwave of energy exploded outward, knocking everyone to the ground. All electronics died simultaneously. Lights, vehicles, communications, weapons systems. In the sudden darkness, the device hovered at eye level, projecting a star map into the night sky, Earth at its center, and something massive responding from the outer reaches of the solar system. Maya stared upward as strange aurora-like lights began dancing across the horizon. "What have I done?" she whispered to the indifferent stars. Across the galaxy, alarms blared throughout Warlord Krivax's warship. The Vrex commander's scales shifted from dormant gray to active crimson as holographic displays confirmed the signal's origin. Finally, he hissed to his assembled officers. "Prepare the fleet. The Arcadian weapon has awakened. You're not under arrest, Dr. Chen. Think of this as protective custody." Maya glared at the woman across the steel table. 36 hours had passed since the device's activation. She'd been blindfolded, transported via helicopter, then military aircraft, and finally underground. She'd counted 4 elevator descents. "Director Harlow," she read from the ID badge, "of an organization that doesn't exist, judging by the redacted insignia." The woman, 50s, silver-streaked black hair in a tight bun, eyes that missed nothing, allowed a thin smile. "UMBRA has existed longer than you've been alive, Dr. Chen. We simply excel at remaining in the shadows." A wall-mounted screen flickered to life, displaying global phenomena. Compass needles spinning wildly in Beijing. Freak electrical storms materializing over major cities. Observatory readings of multiple objects decelerating from relativistic speeds at the edge of the solar system. "This began 90 minutes after your interaction with the artifact," Harlow explained. "Whatever you activated, it sent a beacon." Someone answered. Maya's stomach tightened. "Where is it now?" "The device. 2 levels below us. Being studied by someone you should meet." Harlow rose. "Assuming you're willing to sign our confidentiality agreements." "Do I have a choice?" "There's always a choice, Dr. Chen. Though some options are significantly worse than others." The laboratory hummed with equipment Maya didn't recognize, technology that appeared decades beyond current scientific understanding. A man with unkempt black hair and 3 days' stubble hunched over the assembled device, muttering calculations while manipulating holographic displays. "Dr. Rajesh Patel," Harlow introduced. Former quantum physics prodigy at CERN, and before publishing theories so controversial they effectively excommunicated him. The man glanced up, dark eyes brightening with recognition. "Maya Chen. Your paper on nonlinear temporal artifacts in Göbekli tape was brilliant. Completely wrong methodology, but brilliant intuition." "Charming," Maya replied dryly. "What exactly are we dealing with?" Raj gestured to the hovering device. "It's a quantum database. Imagine cramming the entire internet into a softball through dimensional compression. But it's locked, responds to physical interaction, but resists digital interface." "It responded to my blood," Maya observed. "Precisely." Raj animated significantly. "It has biological security protocols, DNA recognition. The question is, why would alien technology recognize human DNA?" A klaxon suddenly blared. Red emergency lights bathed the laboratory. Harlow's communicator chirped. "Report. Perimeter breach," a voice crackled. "Observatory detected atmospheric entry. Small object, moving too fast to intercept. Impact imminent at." The facility shuddered violently. Dust rained from ceiling panels. 60 seconds to lockdown," announced an automated system. "All personnel proceed to secure stations." Harlow gripped Maya's arm. "We need to move the artifact." "Where?" Maya asked as Raj carefully placed the device in a containment case. "Contingency site. UMBRA doesn't keep all eggs in one basket." Harlow led them toward a reinforced door at the rear of the lab. "We've been preparing for this possibility since 1977. Another impact rocked the facility. Lights flickered. "What hit us?" Raj demanded, clutching the case. "Probe," Harlow answered, scanning her retina at the security door. "Automated reconnaissance. They're searching." The door hissed open, revealing a narrow passage. "This way." As they hurried through, Maya glimpsed security feeds on a monitor. A metallic sphere had punched through 3 levels of the facility, trailing what looked like luminescent smoke that moved with purpose, flowing through ventilation systems, wrapping around confused personnel who collapsed upon contact. "It's scanning for the energy signature," Harlow explained, leading them down a spiraling staircase. Follow exactly in my footsteps. Pressure plates. The facility trembled again, more violently. Emergency bulkheads began sealing automatically. Director, we've got 6 more objects on approach, a voice reported over comms. Larger. Military configuration. Harlow's expression hardened. Initiate blackout protocol. Scorched earth. Ma'am, that's the entire facility. Confirmed. 90-second countdown. Maya exchanged alarmed glances with Raj. You're destroying your own headquarters. UMBRA has no headquarters, Dr. Chen. Harlow pressed her palm against an unremarkable section of wall, revealing a hidden elevator. Only temporary accommodations. As they descended, Maya felt the device vibrating through the containment case. Above them, the facility's self-destruct sequence had begun. Where are we going? She demanded. Harlow's eyes reflected the emergency lights. To meet the rest of your team. Earth's first contact situation has begun, and you've been chosen as the ambassador. Why me? Because whatever's coming recognized your DNA. The device wasn't left here by accident, Dr. Chen, and I suspect your academic disgrace wasn't either. Someone has been manipulating events for a very long time. The elevator doors closed as distant explosions began consuming the facility above them. The emergency transport helicopter banked sharply over the Atacama, giving Maya a horrifying panorama of what had changed in just 72 hours. 3 massive vessels hung in the lower atmosphere above the mining site, dark silhouettes against the afternoon sky. They defied conventional aerodynamics, asymmetrical structures of obsidian and bronze that should have been incapable of flight. Military response, Maya asked, watching missile contrails rise from distant installations. Irrelevant, Harlow replied, eyes fixed on a tactical display. Conventional weapons can't penetrate their defensive fields. The missiles detonated harmlessly against shimmering barriers surrounding the vessels. In response, precision beams lanced downward, surgically excising the launch sites without collateral damage. They're being careful, Raj observed. Minimal casualties. Not from compassion, Harlow corrected. They need us alive. The device in its containment case pulsed rhythmically, its glow intensifying as smaller craft, detached from the capital ships, descending toward the desert floor. Maya's tablet pinged with an urgent notification from UMBRA's remnant network. She enlarged the video feed, CNN footage from a distance, showing the first emergence of the aliens. Her breath caught. The Wreckage stood nearly 8 feet tall, bipedal but with sinuous, serpentine movements. Their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that shifted color with each motion. 4 upper limbs operated with unsettling precision as they established a perimeter, deploying technology that immediately disrupted all electronic surveillance within a 5-kilometer radius. We're heading for the secondary site in Argentina, Harlow announced. Underground network that. Her words died as the helicopter's engines suddenly silenced. The aircraft hum momentarily suspended, then began a controlled descent to the desert floor below. Tractor beam technology, Raj whispered, clutching the containment case tighter. They've locked onto the energy signature. Plan Omega, Harlow ordered the pilot, who immediately activated a sequence on the control panel. 30 seconds to self-destruct. We jump at 15. Maya stared in disbelief. Jump. From this height. The director handed each of them what looked like a small disc. Adhesive atmospheric retarders. Slows terminal velocity. Aim for sand, not rock. The side door slid open. Wind howled through the cabin as the helicopter continued its inexorable descent toward a small Wreckage landing party. Now, Harlow commanded, launching herself into the void. Maya hesitated, but Raj grabbed her hand. Together, he shouted over the wind. They jumped. The disc activated against Maya's chest, creating an invisible field that cushioned her fall. Still, the impact drove air from her lungs as she hit sand and rolled. Above, the helicopter exploded in a blue-white fireball that temporarily disrupted the tractor beam. Shrapnel rained down, forcing the Wreckage to shield themselves. This way, Harlow hissed, already moving toward a rocky outcropping. Blood streaked one side of her face, but her eyes remained focused. Maya and Raj followed, half crawling through loose sand. They had almost reached cover when a voice resonated directly in their minds. "Stop. Surrender the Arcadian vessel." 20 meters away stood a Wreck's commander, scales pulsing with hypnotic patterns. Its upper right hand held what could only be a weapon, while another manipulated a device projecting the telepathic communication. "I am Commander Silith, Enforcement Division of the Wreck's Imperium. Your resistance is noted but futile." The alien's attention fixed on Maya with unnerving intensity. "You have activated forbidden technology. The penalty is severe. However, Warlord Kryvax offers terms. Surrender the Arcadian vessel and yourself. The rest of your kind will be spared immediate cleansing." "Don't listen," Harlow whispered, slowly drawing a weapon from beneath her jacket. "They're scanning for psychological weaknesses." The Wreck's commander's head tilted, its vertical pupils dilating. "Director Elizabeth Harlow of Earth Defense Initiative Umbra. Your strategic value is calculated. You will be harvested for information." Before Harlow could fire, a piercing beam struck her shoulder. She collapsed, the weapon falling from nerveless fingers. "Approach with the vessel, Maya Chen. Your genetic signature is already archived. There is nowhere in this system you can hide from us." Maya glanced at the injured Harlow, then at Raj, who clutched the containment case. His expression hardened with resolve. "Run," he whispered, pressing the case into her hands before lunging toward the dropped weapon. The Wreck's commander fired again. The beam meant for Maya struck Raj in the chest, but instead of disintegrating him, it enveloped his body in crackling energy that froze him mid-motion. Commander Silith's scales rippled with what might have been surprise. "Neural assessment subject. Bring him aboard." Maya clutched the containment case and scrambled backward as two Wreck soldiers advanced toward Raj's paralyzed form. Harlow, despite her injured shoulder, suddenly rolled to her knees and slammed a small device into the sand. "Sonic disruptor. Cover your ears," she shouted. The device activated with no sound detectable to human hearing, but the effect on the Wrecks was immediate and devastating. They collapsed, outer scales vibrating painfully as they emitted high-pitched keening sounds. Commander Silith alone remained standing, though visibly disoriented. "The paralysis field will break in seconds," Harlow gasped, staggering to her feet. "Get Raj." Maya sprinted to her colleague, finding him conscious but immobile, eyes wide with panic. The energy field flickered as she dragged him toward a narrow ravine where Harlow waited. "How did you know their auditory weakness?" Maya demanded as they fled deeper into the rocky labyrinth. 1977, Harlow replied cryptically, leading them through passages that seemed suspiciously well mapped. Wreck's scout ship crashed in Brazil. 3 survivors. We learned quite a lot. A hidden door slid open in what appeared to be solid rock, revealing a small elevator platform. They crowded inside as the sound of pursuit echoed through the ravine. UMBURA has maintained hidden installations worldwide for decades, Harlow explained as they descended. This one connects to a transport system. We have perhaps 20 minutes before their sensors detect the energy signature again. The elevator opened into a concrete tunnel where an electric vehicle waited. Raj, gradually regaining motor control, slumped against Maya as they boarded. "They didn't try to kill me," he murmured. "Silith called me a neural assessment subject. They want us alive." "Not all of us," Harlow corrected grimly, activating the vehicle. "They want Maya and anyone with her specific genetic markers." As they accelerated through the tunnel, Maya studied the containment case. The device inside pulsed more strongly than before, its patterns shifting faster. "It's responding to proximity to the Wrecks," she realized. "Almost like it's afraid." Raj, still weak but recovering, pointed to markings on the device visible through the case's transparent sections. Those symbols changed when Silith spoke. "It's translating, or reacting, to their communication." A wild impulse seized Maya. Before Harlow could stop her, she unlocked the case. "What are you doing?" the director demanded. "Following my instincts, the same ones that got me laughed out of academia." Maya lifted the device. It hummed in her hands, warm and vibrating like a living thing. "It wants me to connect with it." "Maya, no," Raj protested. "We don't know what." She pressed the device to her forehead. The world exploded into light. Maya found herself floating in a sea of stars. Data streams flowed around her in alien patterns that somehow made perfect sense. This wasn't a weapon. It was a library, a museum, a time capsule of an entire civilization. A presence formed before her, coalescing from the data streams into a humanoid shape of blue-white light. "You are not Arcadian," it stated, its voice resonating directly in her mind. "Yet you carry the recognition sequence." Curious. The probability calculation for this scenario was infinitesimal. "Who are you?" Maya managed to ask, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking aloud. "I am Nexus, final custodian of Arcadian knowledge." "You have activated the inheritance protocol." "What is that?" "When extinction becomes inevitable, preserve what matters most." The figure gestured, expanding the starfield around them. "The Wrecks did not merely defeat us in war, Maya Chen. They systematically erased us from existence, our worlds, our history, our very memory among the galactic community." The beam's form solidified, becoming more distinctly humanoid though still composed of light. "I was sent to Earth because our long-range scans detected genetic compatibility. Your species carries markers inexplicably similar to Arcadian patterns." "Why does Silith want you so badly?" "Because I contain proof of their greatest crime," Nexus replied. "And the key to their ultimate defeat." Maya felt herself being pulled back to physical reality. Nexus's voice faded. "They believe me a weapon, but I am something far more dangerous, a memory they thought erased. And now, I am awake." Maya gasped, returning to her body as the transport screeched to a halt. Raj and Harlow stared at her in shock. The device had transformed, now displaying Arcadian script across its surface and projecting a holographic star map. "What happened?" Raj whispered. "We're not alone anymore," Maya answered, as coordinates for their next destination materialized before them. "And we've just been recruited into a war that's been going on for centuries." The North Sea churned beneath storm clouds as their transport submarine surfaced 2 kilometers from Platform Omega. Once an oil rig, the massive structure had been covertly repurposed decades ago. Now it represented Earth's last, best hope, if they could reach it before the Wrecks located them again. "There's someone you need to meet," Harlow said, studying satellite imagery showing 3 Wrecks vessels systematically searching the North Atlantic. "Someone who's been expecting you for 50 years. The platform's exterior remained deliberately decrepit, rusted metal and peeling paint, but the interior revealed UMBRA's true technological capabilities. Armed guards with advanced weaponry escorted them through gleaming corridors to a central command center humming with activity. An elderly woman awaited them, seated in a mechanized chair with medical monitoring equipment. Despite her frail appearance, her eyes burned with the same intensity as Director Harlow's. "Dr. Chen." Finally, the woman's voice was surprisingly strong. "I'm Elizabeth Harlow Sr. Welcome to the contingency we hoped would never be necessary." Maya glanced between the 2 women, understanding dawning. "You're her mother." "The founder of UMBRA," the younger Harlow confirmed. "After first contact in 1977, the elder Harlow gestured toward the Arcadian device Maya carried. "May I?" Maya hesitated, feeling an inexplicable protectiveness. "It's all right," the woman assured her. "I've been waiting for this moment since before you were born." Maya placed the device on a scanning platform. Immediately, holographic displays erupted around them, showing data streams and analysis. In 1977, 3 Wreck scouts landed in Brazil after their ship malfunctioned. The elder Harlow explained. "We captured 2. The third escaped with critical technology, but not before revealing the truth. Earth was being monitored by multiple extraterrestrial civilizations. The Wrecks had violated quarantine protocols by landing. Raj, recovered from the paralysis field, leaned forward. Quarantine. Earth is located in what they called a developmental preservation zone. Emerging sentient species are left undisturbed until they achieve independent interstellar travel. She smiled thinly. The Wrecks broke that rule. So we bented ourselves. Maya understood suddenly. UMBURA reverse engineered their technology. We've spent 5 decades preparing for their return. The elder Harlow tapped controls on her chair. A wall slid aside, revealing an observation deck overlooking an enormous hangar below. Maya gasped. A craft unlike anything built on Earth occupied the space. Sleek, predatory lines incorporating both human and alien design elements. Prototype 1. The younger Harlow stated. Our answer to Wreck's pursuit vessels. Limited FTL capability. We have 3. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. A technician shouted from a monitoring station. Orbital bombardment incoming. They found us. The first impact rocked the platform. Emergency shields activated, absorbing part of the energy, but buckling under the assault. They're using atmospheric destabilizers, the younger Harlow reported, studying damage assessments, creating a targeted hurricane around the platform. We have minutes before structural failure. The elder Harlow's expression remained calm. Initiate Protocol Phoenix. As technicians scrambled to comply, Nexus suddenly manifested as a holographic figure from the Arcadian device, visible to everyone. The Wreck's fleet is commanded by Warlord Krivax himself. The Arcadian eye announced. This is unprecedented. He would not leave the Imperium core worlds unless. Nexus paused, processing. Unless he fears exposure to the Galactic Collective. Can we transmit your evidence to this collective? Maya asked. Impossible from your current technological level, Nexus replied. We would need access to a primary relay node, which would be on Krivax's command ship, Raj concluded. The platform shuddered violently as another bombardment hit. Support beams groaned under the strain. We're evacuating to submersible level, the younger Harlow ordered, helping her mother's chair toward a secure elevator. All personnel, abandon surface structure. Maya stared at the prototype craft in the hangar below as a desperate plan formed in her mind. Nexus, can you interface with UMBRA's systems? Access everything they know about Wreck's technology. Already completed, the AI replied. I have identified a potential approach vector to Krivax's command ship, exploiting a systematic flaw in Wreck's sensor arrays. The elder Harlow's eyes widened with understanding. You're not suggesting. We're not running anymore, Maya declared, gripping the Arcadian device as Nexus's hologram smiled with something like pride. It's time to take the fight to them. Through the observation windows, they watched as the storm-lashed sea rose to swallow the platform's lower levels. Above, the silhouettes of Wreck's warships descended through churning clouds. The younger Harlow studied Maya's determined expression, then nodded sharply. Hangar Level 3. I'll assemble a strike team. As they hurried toward the elevators, Raj caught Maya's arm. This is insanity. We can't board an alien warship. That's exactly why it might work, Maya replied as Nexus's hologram flickered between them. The Wrecks don't understand human unpredictability, and they're about to get a crash course. Identification codes scavenged from the Brazil crash, the younger Harlow explained as their prototype craft accelerated through the upper atmosphere. Wreck's ships broadcast continuous authentication signals. We're transmitting a maintenance drone designation. Maya watched Earth diminish below, the blue-green marble partially obscured by the Wreck's fleet's massive silhouettes. The prototype vessel, callsign Phantom, housed 6 people. Maya, Raj, Harlow, and 3 UMBRA operatives, with specialized combat augmentations. Passive scan detection range in 30 seconds, warned the pilot, a woman with neural interface implants visible at her temples. Switching to mimetic hull configuration. The vessel's exterior shifted, refracting light differently. On monitors, its appearance now resembled a Wreck's utility craft. Genetic compatibility extends beyond neural interface, Nexus observed from the Arcadian device, which now projected his holographic form throughout the cabin. Your pilot demonstrates partial integration with technology designed for different physiology. UMBRA's been experimenting with human augmentation since the 80s, Harlow admitted. Limited success, severe rejection issues. Because the technology was designed for Arcadian genetic profiles, Nexus concluded. Yet humans show partial compatibility. This confirms my theory. Your species was deliberately engineered. Before Maya could question this revelation, proximity alarms sounded. Through the viewports, Kryvax's command vessel loomed, a behemoth of obsidian segments arranged in asymmetrical patterns, twice the length of an aircraft carrier. Approaching Maintenance Bay Alpha 6, the pilot announced. Transponder acceptance confirmed. They believe we're automated repair drones returning from surface operations. Once inside, we have minutes before physical inspection, Harlow said, checking her weapon, a modified electromagnetic pulse rifle. Nexus, where's the communication relay? Central Spire, Level 8, the eye replied, displaying a three-dimensional schematic. But Kryvax would be in the command nexus. Here, he highlighted a section near the ship's core. If we truly wish to expose Wreck's crimes to the collective, we need both. Split up, Maya decided. Raj and I take Nexus to the communication relay. Harlow leads the strike team as a diversion toward the command nexus. Suicide mission, one of the augmented operatives observed dispassionately. Perhaps, Harlow agreed. But necessary. Kryvax came personally to contain this situation. He fears exposure more than anything. The Phantom settled into a cavernous maintenance bay filled with automated systems, but, crucially, no Wreck's personnel. They disembarked silently, splitting into two teams at the first junction. 20 minutes, Harlow whispered, clasping Maya's shoulder briefly. Good luck. Navigating the Wreck's vessel proved both easier and more disturbing than expected. Nexus guided them through maintenance shafts where environmental controls were calibrated for Wreck's biology. Uncomfortably warm and humid for humans, but navigable. No guards, Raj muttered as they neared the communication center. Overconfidence. Efficiency, Nexus corrected. Wreck's society is hierarchical to an extreme degree. Internal security is unnecessary because disobedience is biologically inconceivable to them. Maya studied alien script, scrolling across interfaces they passed. Is that why they fear the Arcadian data so much? Because it proves they violated their own hierarchy. Precisely. The Wrecks serve entities they call precursors, supposedly ascended beings who established galactic law. By destroying Arcadia and other civilizations, they violated their most sacred directive: preserve knowledge. They reached the communication center, a spherical chamber with control interfaces surrounding a glowing central pillar. No Wrecks attended it. Automated, Nexus explained. Insert the device into that receptacle. Maya placed the Arcadian artifact into an opening that adjusted to receive it. Immediately, the chamber hummed with energy as Nexus's holographic form expanded, interfacing directly with Wreck's systems. Accessing collective channels, he announced. Uploading evidence packets of Wreck's atrocities against 17 civilizations. Alarms suddenly blared. On a monitoring screen, they watched Harlow's team engaged in pitched battle near the command nexus, drawing security forces away from them. Transmission at 40%, Nexus reported. Firewall resistance encountered. The chamber door slid open. Maya and Raj spun, weapons raised, but froze at the sight of their visitor. Warlord Kryvax filled the doorway, nearly 9 feet tall, his scales shifting through patterns that hurt human eyes to observe. Unlike lesser Wrecks, he wore no technology to communicate. Instead, his voice resonated directly in their minds through unassisted telepathy. How disappointing. I expected the Arcadian vessel, yet find only primitive mammals manipulating technology they cannot understand. His gaze fixed on Nexus's hologram, scales darkening with what might have been rage or fear. Impossible. The Arcadian consciousness collective was erased. Not erased, Nexus replied calmly as the transmission bar reached 60%. Preserved. As all knowledge should be, according to your own precursor laws. Kryvax extended one massive hand, energy crackling between his claws. Precursor Directive 7. Preserve knowledge. Precursor Directive 3. Prune evolutionary branches that threaten stability. The directives do not conflict, your kind was the threat. Transmission 70% complete, Nexus announced as Kryvax advanced into the chamber. Maya stepped forward, placing herself between the warlord and the console. You've failed, she declared, surprising herself with her steadiness. Even if you kill us, the truth is already spreading across your precious collective. Kryvax's vertical pupils narrowed to slits. Perhaps, but humans will not witness it. He raised his hand to strike. Time seemed to slow as Kryvax's claws descended toward Maya. A sudden blur of movement intercepted the blow. Raj throwing himself forward, the Vrex energy weapon from the UMBRA arsenal raised in desperate defense. The collision of technologies created an unexpected reaction. Rather than destroying Raj, Kryvax's energy attack interfaced with the modified weapon, creating a feedback loop that sent both human and Vrex staggering backward. Impossible. Kryvax's telepathic voice wavered with something approaching fear. Your technology is primitive. Not primitive, Maya realized aloud, watching as Raj's body began to emit the same blue-white energy as Nexus's hologram. Compatible. The Arcadian upload reached 80% as Raj's eyes glowed with inner light. When he spoke, his voice harmonized with Nexus. Temporary neural integration complete, they said in unison, accessing Vrex command protocols through Kryvax's own telepathic network. The warlord roared in fury, his scales fluctuating wildly as he fought the intrusion. Around them, the ship's systems began to malfunction. Gravity wavered. Lighting systems pulsed erratically. What have you done? Kryvax demanded, his massive form hunching as though in pain. Created a bridge, Maya answered, understanding flowing into her mind from the partial connection she shared with Nexus. Raj's human brain provides the randomness your rigid systems can't defend against. The warlord lunged again, but security barriers suddenly materialized between them. Raj/Nexus had accessed the ship's defense systems. Kryvax howled in rage, pounding against the energy field. Transmission 90% complete, Nexus announced, now using the ship's own communication system. Collective reception confirmed. Emergency session convened. Kryvax's eyes fixed on Maya with terrible comprehension. You have destroyed everything. No, she replied. We've preserved everything, including the truth about the precursors. The warlord went utterly still. What do you know of the precursors? They weren't gods or ascended beings, Maya said, drawing on knowledge flowing from Nexus through their strange three-way connection. They were scientists who created your species as biological tools, engineered to maintain galactic order while they departed to explore beyond the galaxy. Lies. Blasphemy. But Kryvax's mental voice lacked conviction. The Vrex were programmed with directives, including preserve knowledge and prune threatening branches of evolution, Maya continued. But you distorted these directives to justify eliminating civilizations like the Arcadians who might someday challenge Vrex dominance. The transmission hit 95%. Across the ship, alarms blared as external vessels began approaching. Massive ships unlike the Vrex design. Collective Enforcement Division vessels detected. Announced the ship's systems, now under Raj/Nexus's control. Kryvax's scales dulled to ashen gray, a sign of deepest distress in Vrex biology. You cannot understand the burden we carry. For millennia, we alone have maintained order. By committing genocide, Maya replied. The Arcadians weren't a threat to galactic stability. They were a threat to your interpretation of the precursor directives. The warlord's posture changed suddenly. His hand moved to a device at his thorax. If I am to face judgment, I will not go alone. This vessel carries annihilation protocols. Transmission complete. Nexus announced as Raj collapsed to his knees, the connection breaking. Collective reception confirmed. Maya lunged forward, but too late. Kryvax activated the device. Nothing happened. What? The warlord stared in disbelief at the inner device. Override complete, came a familiar voice from the chamber entrance. Director Harlow stood there, bloody but alive, supported by her remaining operative. While you were focused on these two, my team accessed your engine core. Harlow nodded to Maya. Never confront an enemy directly when you can attack their blind spot. The ship shuddered as docking clamps engage. Through viewports, they glimpsed vessels of extraordinary design, organic curves and crystalline structures unlike anything human or Wreckage. The collective comes, Kryvax whispered, scales now completely gray. Judgment approaches. The chamber doors slid open. Beams of light stepped through. Not holographic projections like Nexus, but physical entities composed of luminous energy in vaguely humanoid form. Maya felt a presence touch her mind. Gentle, unlike Kryvax's brutal telepathy. We are the Collective Enforcement Division. The evidence has been received and verified. Warlord Kryvax of the Wreckage Imperium stands accused of violating galactic law. The light beings surrounded Kryvax, who seemed to shrink before them. Before they took him away, he looked back at Maya. His once intimidating presence diminished. The irony, human. You were the final experiment, the precursor's contingency against our failure. They seeded your world with altered DNA long ago. You were meant to replace us if we ever betrayed our purpose. As the beings escorted Kryvax away, one remained, studying Maya with luminous eyes. The Wreckage warlord speaks partial truth. Your species was indeed designed, but not by our mythical precursors. You were created by the Arcadians themselves, who foresaw their own destruction. Human DNA carries fragments of their genetic legacy, a final act of preservation. The collective representative extended a hand of light toward the Arcadian device, which now pulsed in rhythm with Maya's heartbeat. The inheritance vessel has found its intended recipient. What humanity does with this inheritance now falls outside our jurisdiction. As the beam departed, Maya looked to Raj and Harlow, the magnitude of what had happened beginning to sink in. What now? Raj asked quietly. Maya touched the Arcadian device, feeling Nexus's consciousness within it, no longer alien, but somehow part of her. Now, she said, we take their legacy home. 6 months after the confrontation aboard Kryvax's command ship, Maya stood at the observation dome of the newly constructed Arcadian embassy in Geneva. Behind her, delegates from every nation on Earth prepared for humanity's first official meeting with Galactic collective representatives. Nervous? Raj asked, joining her at the window. The neural connection with Nexus had left permanent changes. Faint luminescence in his eyes, enhanced cognitive abilities, and occasional moments when Arcadian knowledge would surface unexpectedly in his mind. Terrified, Maya admitted. She too had been transformed, though differently. Her connection with the inheritance vessel had become symbiotic. She now served as its primary interface, the living bridge between human and Arcadian knowledge. Below them, construction crews worked on the foundation of what would become Earth's first faster-than-light vessel. The schematics had emerged gradually as Maya and Raj helped scientists decode the vast Arcadian database. Director Harlow approached, now heading the newly formed Terran Diplomatic Corps. The collective envoys have entered orbit. They'll dock within the hour. She hesitated, then added, they're bringing guests. Maya's pulse quickened. The message was real. Some Arcadians survived. A small colony hidden in the Orc cloud of a neighboring system. Harlow confirmed. They received the transmission when Nexus activated. They've been watching, waiting to see what would happen. The elder Harlow joined them, her health improved by medical technology derived from the inheritance database. Human BRA spent 50 years preparing for alien threats. We never imagined we'd be hosting a diplomatic reception instead. Outside, a murmur rose from the gathered crowd as a crystalline vessel descended through scattered clouds, unlike the Wreckage ships that had terrorized Earth months earlier. It landed with impossible grace on the embassy's receiving platform. The Wreckage Imperium has been placed under collective supervision, Nexus informed them, his holographic form materializing beside Maya. Kryvax and the High Command faced judgment for crimes against 17 species. The evidence was comprehensive. Maya touched the inheritance vessel at her side, now transformed into a more elegant interface. What about the other directive violations? The precursor myths. Being addressed, Nexus replied. The collective has acknowledged systematic manipulation of historical records by the Wrecks. The truth will be restored. The embassy doors opened. Collective representatives entered first. Beings of varying forms and evolutionary paths, some recognizably humanoid, others utterly alien. Behind them came three figures that caused Maya's breath to catch. The Arcadians were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and features that seemed almost human, yet not, as though humanity were an unfinished sketch of their more refined design. Their eyes, containing multifaceted pupils that refracted light like living prisms, fixed immediately on Maya. Nexus, the foremost Arcadian said, voice melodic and complex. You have succeeded beyond all probability calculations. The hologram bowed. The success belongs to our inheritors. They exceeded all parameters we established. The Arcadian turned to Maya, studying her with ancient eyes. When our civilization faced extinction, we sent our legacy to many worlds. Only Earth responded. A gesture encompassed the room. Only humans possessed the unique combination of intelligence, adaptability, and empathy necessary to inherit, rather than simply use our knowledge. Why did you create us? Maya asked the question that had haunted her since Kryvax's revelation. We didn't create humanity, the Arcadian clarified. We recognized potential in your early ancestors. We simply accelerated certain cognitive and neurological developments, then watched from afar as you evolved naturally. Director Harlow stepped forward. And now, what does Earth's emergence mean for the galactic community? The collective representative, a being of crystalline structure, answered. It means change. The rigid hierarchy enforced by the Wrecks for millennia is ending. New perspectives are required. The crystal being gestured toward the Arcadian visitors. Not restoration of the old order, but evolution toward something new. The lead Arcadian extended a hand toward Maya, offering a small crystalline object. The inheritance was only the beginning, a test to determine readiness. This contains coordinates to our hidden colony and archives we preserved from our civilization's height. Maya accepted the crystal, feeling its resonance with the inheritance vessel. What happens now? Now, the Arcadian replied, we learn from each other. You possess qualities we lost to technological advancement, creativity, intuition, emotional depth. We offer knowledge accumulated across millennia. Outside, the sun broke through clouds, illuminating the partially constructed starship. Earth's first true step into the cosmos would carry both human ingenuity and Arcadian knowledge, not as conquerors or mere students, but as partners in a galactic community undergoing its own transformation. The Wrecks left wreckage on Earth, hoping to recover their secrets, Raj observed quietly. Instead, they awakened their replacement. Maya watched as human and alien delegates began formal introductions, the boundaries between Earth's nations seeming suddenly small and arbitrary. The wreckage had been transformed into a bridge, the desperate aliens into reluctant teachers, and humanity's isolation into its greatest strength. Not replacement, she corrected, feeling Nexus's approval through their connection. Evolution. For all of us. The inheritance vessel pulsed softly at her side, its journey complete, its purpose fulfilled, and humanity's journey to the stars, finally, properly began.